Bendiciones. I just wanted to touch on a topic, you know. So for starters, as people know, if you're in my mentorship and you're in the higher tier, I break down various aspects of astrology, so that you can understand, planets, how they're playing off of your signs, and utilize this information to understand yourself, how to better yourself, and how to understand others. Okay. Also, I'm one who comes on here a few times a month live to speak about, what various moon phases or lunar phases, so that you guys can have a compass on how to, maybe continue your progress, or how to handle, varying aspects of life, or where you may be at, things like that. So I come on here just to give that to you guys. Of course, when you want deeper insight, you come book a reading with me and we dig deeper. But at least I give something back to the people that follow me, so that they're bettering their life by following me. All right. So I believe in giving back to people in that way. And so what I'm going to do is address, certain skeptics on astrology. Uh, and just me, off the top, as a practitioner of Puerto Rican voodoo, as a devotee of Ifa, what I'm going to tell you is that there's amazing things that I can do with a birth chart, because I understand the inner planets just as much as I understand the outer planets, and there's a power that comes with that. But moving along, I want to really touch on the skepticism that comes towards astrology, where you may hear people say things like, "Oh well, the constellations aren't in the same position that they were 20,000 years ago," or the Earth has a wobble to it, so it's not accurate what you're really looking at in the sky." Yada yada yada. All of this just comes from misunderstandings. And family, this is why it's important to stick to the things that you know. It's very important to stick to what you know, stay in your lane, and the stuff that you really know, you focus on, you bring that light to the world. But the things that you don't really understand, you kind of just have to, like, either talk to people that understand that more, or do more research so that you can know what you're talking about, or else, you can come out here and you can look foolish by saying things that you don't have understandings. And we often see that with astrology, where people may come and they may say whatever they're going to say. And that's very important. So what I'm going to tell you guys is, for starters, you have to understand that there are different systems of astrology, just like there's different systems of voodoo, where people may do things a little differently in this region than that region. It's the same thing with astrology. So, mainly what you're going to be talking about is, you're going to be talking about uh, Vedic astrology, or you're going to be talking about Western astrology. And so Vedic astrology and Western astrology, they go through a different they kind of go through a different way to get to the same solution. So this is kind of like you solving a math problem and another person solving a math problem, but you use two different methods to get to the solution of that math problem. All right. This is a thing that's common in life. We see this all the time. So, when you get into uh Vedic astrology, Vedic astrology, they are keeping up to date with the modern movement of the planets and the constellations. They're up to date with where these celestial bodies are in the sky right now. So if you look into Vedic astrology and you look at your birth chart in Vedic astrology, you will notice that your sun sign is usually like a month behind. So if you were somebody that was a Gemini, then in Vedic astrology, you would probably be a Taurus, right? So you will see them keeping up on the actual positions of the astrological bodies. Okay, this is what you see. And this, because anybody that you talk to that's really diving deep will tell you that there are powers in both Western astrology and in Vedic astrology. Okay. And the reason for that is because of the results that come from it are, they're going to slightly differ. Because when you're getting into Vedic astrology, which is keeping up, see, this is why when people say, oh, well, the planets aren't in the same position, so astrology is foolish. Well, they don't understand there's Vedic astrology that they absolutely are keeping up with the celestial bodies, and they only count the planets that they can see with their naked eye. So that's another thing with Vedic astrology. They're only counting the planets that they see with their naked eye. All right. And so that's the ones they really take into account. And so, when you're looking at Vedic astrology, because of this, Vedic astrology is very good at predicting events in your life. Vedic astrology is very good with helping you to overcome certain karmic things in your life. Um, things like that. Vedic astrology is very accurate when you're working with Vedic astrology. Now, here's the thing with Vedic astrology though. Oftentimes, when a person looks at their birth chart from a Vedic astrology point of view, they may not resonate with the signs that they see in their from a personality standpoint. And there's a reason for this, which we're going to get into the reason. That's why people have to be in the field and know what they're talking about, know what they're doing with this type of stuff, because you're going to use different systems for different reasons. Okay. So when you're looking at your Vedic astrology and you may be a Scorpio, or you may be a Libra or let's say you're a Scorpio in Vedic astrology, but you are a Libra in Western astrology. More times than not, your personality is going to identify with the Western Libra as your sun sign. You're going to identify with it. There's a reason for this. Now, the Vedic astrology, you're going to go through the predictions that can come from the Vedic astrology is going to be deep. But to really understand your place as a Scorpio in Vedic, right, you would have to even understand the nakshatras that are attached to it, and you're going to have to understand the prada that it falls in. Okay. So once you start to put those things in together, then you will be able to more resonate with that particular placement. See, this is why I tell y'all, when we get into this, it starts to get more detailed. So it's just foolish to make certain blanket statements about astrology. Come on. What are we, 5? So basically, this is what you're going to do. All right. And then you will start to get a broader understanding of the overall personality. Now, in Western astrology, the reason that it's so glaringly obvious is because Western astrology also factors in the seasons. So this is a point that a lot of people miss, is the factoring of the seasons on the effects of the personality. And so if you study, when you get into Western astrology, things like winter solstices and spring equinoxes, they all mean something. Okay, because these are markings of seasons, and the months within those seasons have different characteristics to them that when a person is born into those months, they often will carry out those same characteristics. And this is why you will really resonate, especially with the outer planets of your Western astrology chart. Because here's the thing, we're not 200,000 years in the future where things have shifted so much that just because your sun sign may be behind by 1 month, that is not enough to override the overall effects of even that season. You understand where I'm coming from? So you're still going to be in the personalities of those time frames. Because why? When you look at the spring is the start of spring is associated with Aries, right? And the start of spring is going to bring certain characteristics, and people born in that time, they're going to have certain characteristics naturally. They're going to have those characteristics. This is why Western astrology is still so potent, because you have to factor in the seasons. You see, and then so this brings us to the questions of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Are you acting like a Scorpio because you were born under a constellation that was in a certain position, or are you acting like a Scorpio because you were born in November when things were starting to die? See, this is when we start to get into the nooks and crannies of it, because both of these things can exist at one time. Understand, like when we get into the end of October, there are celebrations of death all over the world. There are Days of the Dead and Hallows Eve type of celebrations all over the world. So it's ironic, right, that they would associate the sign Scorpio, which is dealing with death and transformation, to November. The end of October and November, Scorpio. And the people that are born in this time frame have similar personalities. They have similar traits about themselves in these time frames. Ironic, right? And this is because the season itself is also playing a part on the personality. Okay, so you have to look deep, and this is why a person that's a Cancer is still going to act like a Cancer. They can still get into mood swings. They can still get into being overly emotional. They can still do all of that. We can say, oh, well, they're really a Gemini, but they're not acting like a Gemini. They acting like a Cancer. Why are they acting like a Cancer? Because they were born in a certain time frame in the end of June or in somewhere in July, and so they're acting like a Cancer. Because the season that's affecting us right here on Earth is affecting their personality and when they were born. You see, this is how deep this shit starts going when we get into astrology. See, this is why a lot of people, they will mix Vedic and Western astrology together to come to their conclusions, because one is not really better than the other. It's just what you're trying to understand. Now, when we get into the houses of astrology, that remains relatively the same, okay? If you're knowing your birth time. So the houses that are really showing the experiences that you go through in life, now once you understand the houses, now you can be very powerful in understanding, the overall realm of what we're talking about, but this is why people will often even mix Vedic astrology and Western astrology. They'll do a little bit of both depending on the type of information they're trying to know. Me personally, I like Western astrology a lot because I'm into the study of people and their personalities a certain way. So I like diving into Western astrology to really understand the personalities that come out of people and things like that. I find it to be very accurate, like most astrologers do. But then I also like aspects of Vedic astrology where I can kind of put a microscope on certain things in life and really get into predictive things. And I like that aspect as well. So it's all in really what you're trying to do as to what system that you may use at the time. Now, if you really nice with Vedic astrology, you can pinpoint personalities just as easy as a Western astrologer. It's just that you understanding that you're going to have to peel back layers to really understanding those nakshatras, really understanding those pradas. You're going to really have to start to understand those things to really get the picture of your Vedic astrology makeup, and realize that all of the planets that are in Western astrology, you're not going to find them in Vedic astrology. Okay. And so, this is deep, man, when we get into these conversations, because, it just shows how vast knowledge can be. It just shows how vast this fields can be, and how you cannot just pinpoint with a microscope, or try to single one thing out or the other, because within astrology, they are still keeping up with the modern current placements of these celestial bodies. It's just that they're doing that in Vedic, where in, Western, the seasons are being factored in. And these months are being assigned to certain zodiacs based on what was known when all of this was discovered. And this is why those months are still carrying the vibrations of those zodiacs. Scorpio, November still going to carry the vibration of Scorpio, because shit's still going to die in November, and that's just the way it go. It's still going to carry that vibration. You know what I'm saying? April is still going to carry the vibration of Aries. That's just the facts. Like, these months are still going to follow the vibrations of these astrological bodies. And like I said, time has not gone so far where now we're 200,000 years in the future, we might not even use astrology, because we might be so spiritually inclined that we're not even using too much of these things, So that's another thing. As time goes on, people may or may not find things necessary anymore, because the overall person is going to go through evolution. You see? And so these are just the facts to crack their backs, understand that oftentimes the people that even say these things, they act like they're signs. They're Western astrology signs, not their Vedic signs. A lot of these people, when they're discounting Western astrology and modern astrology, they're acting like their modern astrological sign. I know a person who was talking negatively about Western astrology and being very critical of it, and being very coming from a point of view, like very deep, almost like a computer, very detailed on why it's not true and this and this. And that person is a Virgo. Of course, the Virgo is the skeptic. You're always skeptic of yes, that trait goes along with Virgo. So yeah, you're a Virgo, and this is what you do, right? So it's people that do this. It's people that do this. It's people that come and they will down onto Western astrology, and they're Cancer, and they're doing it from an emotional point. Okay, so you acting like Cancer. Oh, now I gotta say, you acting like Cancer. So this is what we see. And that's why, man, people should just stay teaching the stuff that they know how to teach, so that their channels and their platforms can keep growing in information that other people find helpful, sticking to the things that they really masters of, or that they really know. And, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. So, with that being said, family, y'all keep elevating, y'all keep growing, and I'll get with y'all on the next one. Ashiu.